merely a symptom of a greater sickness in Faerun. The infected hear the voice of the Absolute and believe it to be a god.
The Absolute is more dangerous than you can possibly conceive. It threatens all who live. It threatens the gods. We, the very fabric.
Baldur Gate 3's timeline is marked by intense historical scars that still shape the Forgotten Realms. Picture 1358 ER, when the time of troubles arose, a golden yet terrifying disruption. Then in 1385 DR, the Spell Plague, a raw magical disaster that ruined the land, leaving behind a legacy of unpredictable wizardry. Though decades have passed as Faerun enters 1492 DR, these cosmic events aren't mere history. Their echoes remain in the scarred lands, the changed nature of magic, and the deep-seated anxieties of the people. Constant whispers in the world where Baldur's Gate 3 unfolds, the Sword Coast. In the heart of the Sword Coast stands the great city of Baldur's Gate, the initial stage for our adventure. This iconic and prosperous city wasn't always so grand. It began as a humble harbor settlement, Grey Harbor. Through the actions of the legendary Baldurin, this small port grew into a beacon of wealth and fame, ultimately becoming one of the most celebrated and prosperous locations in all of Faerun. But its lively present is about to be threatened by an approaching darkness. The story begins with a disturbing kidnapping of the main character and other individuals by disgusting tentacled monsters called Mind Flayers, also known as Illithids. These Illithids travel through different dimensions on their ships, the Nautiloids. The terrifying truth behind this kidnapping soon reveals itself. Prisoners find Illithid tadpoles inside them. These aren't just bugs, they're set to transform them through a terrible process called ceremorphosis. Imagine the tadpole eating you from the inside, consuming your thoughts and memories as it grows in your brain, turning you into another Mind Flayer, a scary, seemingly unstoppable ending. They survived this ending, but survival was just the beginning. Imagine waking up disoriented only to find something alien growing inside you. A ticking clock, a creeping infection. For you, for them, the most important thing wasn't finding their way home. It was stopping this before it stops them. This desperate search leads them running towards the growing cult of the Absolute. This unsettling group of diverse races sees even goblins abandoning their old gods to worship a seemingly more powerful deity. However, as the truth is revealed, this devotion proves far more sinister. The Absolute is, in fact, a formidable elder brain, a powerful mind flayer capable of controlling vast numbers of people across long distances, effectively acting as the central mind of a growing colony. This explains the chilling existence of the true souls within the cult, tadpole-infected individuals wholly bonded to the Absolute's will. Disturbingly, the elder brain is not acting independently. It's a puppet of the evil dead three, Bane, Mahal, and Myrkul. These ancient evil gods, familiar to players of previous Baldur's Gate installments, craft their schemes through chosen mortal champions, the savage Orin, the haunted Ketheric Thorm, and the manipulative Enver Gortash. Each champion holds a unique stone, and when united, these stones grant control over the Elder Brain's great powers. The Dead Three's overall scheme involves utilizing the Absolute and its rapidly growing army of cultists to penetrate the strategic city of Baldur's Gate, and subsequently the wider Sword Coast, ultimately seeking to collect mortal souls and strengthen their own weakening divine influence. Following this evolving conspiracy, the protagonist finds themselves in a uniquely unstable situation. While figuring this out, they discover their transformation into a Mind Flayer has been delayed. This allows them to take serious action against the Elder Brain, a strange being, the Dream Visitor, living inside an unusual crystal that Shadowheart desires, protects their mind from the Elder Brain's control. This leaves them to wonder about the Dream Visitor's true nature, and the secrets held by this mysterious protector and the crystal Shadowheart so desperately seeks. The story of Baldur's Gate 3 cleverly mixes the immediate danger of the Mind Flayer sickness with a monumental and corrupted plan orchestrated by old gods and their helpers. The main character becomes a key figure who must unravel this complicated secret and decide what happens to the land of Faerun. Bringing in the Dead Three, famous antagonists from the Baldur's Gate games, makes the fight much bigger and more interesting than expected. Beyond the captivating story lie characters with different powers and unique skills. Let's take a look at some of them. Shadowheart, a high half-elf who can be romanced by characters of any gender. First found on the Nautiloid, she is a loyal servant of the goddess Shar. Shadowheart can be cold and calculating, willing to do whatever is necessary to serve the Dark Lady with utter devotion. Gale, a brilliant human wizard, found her near some cliffs. His clever mind is plagued by a curse, magic he shouldn't have used from a goddess who left him. He seeks control and forgiveness from his former deity. Will, an attractive human warlock known as the Blade of Frontier, found by a devil pact. Will has dedicated most of his life fighting for the Sword Coast. These are just three of the many compelling characters you'll encounter. Gods and mortals. In the Forgotten Realms, gods often appear and actively affect people's lives. They provide special powers to their chosen followers and often get involved in worldly events, controlling and changing the futures of individuals and entire countries. The main antagonists, the Dead Three, with a desire to be the strongest. Their desires significantly affect Baldur's Gate 3. As they controlled the Absolute, they even faced death once, but their return caused more evil. These old events still have big impacts on what's happening now. Besides the main danger from the Dead Three, other important gods and their followers greatly impact how the story unfolds. Shar, a mysterious goddess of darkness and sadness, has many loyal followers in Faerun, including the well-known Shadowheart, who serves as her priestess. Her strong dark justiciars are warriors who follow her strict rules. Shar is often depicted with long black hair, and her followers often resemble this too. She even possesses a powerful ability to affect how magic works in this world, playing a major part in the death of Maestra during the huge disaster of the Spell Plague. Against the dark rule of Shar stands Selûne, a bright goddess of the moon and light. She has followers like Isabel and Dame Aelin, a heavenly being known as the Night Song, who act as beacons against the growing darkness. Selûne is often linked to silver hair due to the moon's soft light. It's interesting that Ketheric Thorm, who now serves Myrkul, previously built the Moonrise Towers as a grand church for Selûne. The incredible beauty of nature is seen worshipping a Roman tutelary deity of woods, Sylvanus. Their worship stems from this guardian deity helping them, eliminating any danger that can cause damage to the forests and caring for farms. His love for seeing trees grow naturally and his hard work earned him respect among many individuals, including the druids of the Emerald Grove. They see him as the embodiment of wild, untamed nature, and their old beliefs about him bring their druidic ways to life. The Underdark, an extensive system of dark caverns and tunnels filled with glowing mushrooms, is also home to hanging bats and hundreds of possible paths, all led towards a huge spider girl, Lolth, who is the main ruler in this darkness and plays an important role as an evil queen and god of her loyal dark elves, Strauss. She is mostly seen living in the demon web pits. These gods, evil or good, were once normal humans chosen by a higher power. They mostly act upon what that higher power wanted, and this greatly affects Baldur's Gate 3. The people chosen by the evil Dead Three are particularly powerful, making decisions for their gods. These gods and their followers have greatly contributed to the continuing fight between good and evil, like the never-ending battle between Shar and Selûne. These dynamics influence the Baldur's Gate 3 story, and the chosen individuals and their followers must figure out what happened to the Forgotten Realms. Factions and groups. The Cult of the Absolute holds its position as the strongest group with tons of followers from different races who worship the mysterious Absolute. However, their leaders' minds are controlled by the Elder Brain. The cult also has true souls, individuals with Mind Flayer tadpoles possessing special mental powers and marked by the Absolute, all believing they're serving a new goddess. But the real leaders turned out to be the Dead Three, with a motive to rule the world by using the Absolute's growing powers. For the elimination of these evil forces, we have the Harpers, an ancient secret group that believes in doing good and cares about Faerun. They act upon keeping its history and stories safe, balancing nature against the growth of cities and towns. This widespread group of spies and magic users works quietly, often in small independent teams or alone, all with the same goal: to stop unfair rule and protect people who are being treated badly. Jaheira and Minst, heroes from older Baldur's Gate games, are important members of the Harpers, and we get the Flaming Fist, a strong and well-trained group of hired soldiers that grew to become the main police and army for the city. A powerful leader, Grand Duke Elton, started it in 1332 DR. Their past involves a detailed and complicated history with times of great good and times when they were corrupted internally. Even though their main headquarters are in Baldur's Gate, their network and power are widely spread across the Sword Coast and even further. After these groups, we get the Gentarim, also known as the Black Network. This hidden group works like a big business for trading and hiring fighters, getting rich and powerful by secretly moving goods, making illegal deals and private negotiations, much like real-life mafias, and their history in this area is often dark. Every group in BG3 has its own background story and unique work. These were some of them. Playable races and classes. Baldur's Gate 3 is associated with various characters and beings. Let's take a look at some of them. Elves are graceful, long-lived beings with a deep connection to magic and natural resistance, including impressive mind-controlling abilities and magical sleep. Playable options include magically inclined high elves with a strong past history and the swift, archery-focused wood elves who are deeply connected to nature and mostly found living in forests. Humans travel through the map with a purpose to succeed in life and follow different adventures. They often adapt during their travels, finding and carrying useful items, allowing them to carry more in the game. The Githyanki, also known as the Raiders, are renowned as tough fighters. Their past is deeply linked with their migration from another dimension, fueled by a growing hatred for Mind Flayers. Therefore, they raid and collect resources, including secret knowledge about Mind Flayers' dimensions and their unique mental powers. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can pick from 12 different main character types, each with their own background story and way of playing. Barbarians, tough fighters who grow stronger with their anger. Bards, creative artists who use music and words to perform magic. Clerics, priests who get their power from gods. Druids get their powers from nature with the ability to transform into animals. The antagonists, the Dead 3, have some powerful followers. One of them is Catherick Thorm, chosen by the death god Miracle. He used to rule Wraithwind. Catherick was living through the worst days of his life, overwhelmed with sadness after losing his wife and daughter. In his grief, he ended up making a terrible deal with Shar to bring his daughter Isabel back to life, but the dark magic he used covered all the land around Wraithwind in a creepy shadow curse, making everything dark and dangerous. So his personal sadness caused a huge problem for everyone else. And then there's Orin the Red, one of Pal's special followers and a key antagonist. She possesses a fundamentally cruel nature with a very short fuse. Orin commits super violent and over-the-top killings. All she truly desires is for her dad, her powerful ancestor, the god Pal, to notice her and approve. This sinister way of trying to get love and approval through blood and fear can only work for these villains. Even Vlaki, the powerful undead queen of the Githyanki, acts like a strange antagonist. Imagine a queen who claims she's a god and rules her people harshly, but really under that god act, she's just a human who's desperate. She wants to live forever and control everything. Her cruel rules aren't from a real god, but from someone scared of dying, twisting her power to protect herself from death. The antagonists in Baldur's Gate 3 aren't just enemies to beat. Each has a detailed backstory with strong reasons for their sinister actions, along with important links to the history of the Forgotten Realms and previous Baldur's Gate games. Their personal stories and how they fit into the main plot make the game interesting and challenging for the player. Connection to older games. While Baldur's Gate 3 tells a new and interesting story, its connection to older games is clearly seen through the appearance of familiar characters like Jaheira, the smart and strong half-elf druid, and Minsk, who were once close friends in old games. Now they fight evil as part of the Harpers. The game mentions their past as heroes who helped during major crises a long time ago. The concept of Pal spawn, individuals carrying the divine blood of the god of murder, Pal, creates a crucial connection to the older Baldur's Gate games. The main hero of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, often referred to as Gorian Sword or Abdel Adrian, played an important role in stopping Pal's rebirth. In the end, that hero had to choose to either become a god because of their family history or continue their mortal life. Baldur's Gate 3 delves into this history through the playable Dark Urge, who turns out to be a Baal spawn with a scary and violent past, truly one of Baal's special followers. Even Servok Anchev, the main antagonist from the first Baldur's Gate, returns in Act 3 as part of a murder tribunal, continuing his service to the god of murder. The game even quietly mentions the antagonist from Baldur's Gate 2, Irenicus, in some of the books you find. This shows how old problems and evil ideas are still part of the story. Besides returning characters, Baldur's Gate 3 also carries over elements from the old games like the powerful Helm of Balduran and the unpredictable Sword of Chaos, in addition to the legendary city of Baldur's Gate itself. Baldur's Gate 3 follows the D&D story of descent into Avernus, where the unusual disappearance of Elturel and desperate attempts to rescue it set the stage for the game's events. The tiefling people you meet in the game are survivors of that disaster. Furthermore, the disappearance of Grand Duke Ulder Ravengard, a significant figure from Descent into Avernus, is also a major part of the story in Baldur's Gate 3. This connection makes the game fit into the current narrative of the D&D 5th edition world. Baldur's Gate 3 definitely tells its own new story about the Mind Flayer problem and the Absolute Cult, but it also cleverly includes many parts from the older Baldur's Gate stories and the broader world of the Forgotten Realms, the return of favorite characters, the ongoing story of the Children of Al, and the clear connection to the recent Descent into Avernus adventure creates a deep and interesting narrative that new players can jump into, while longtime fans get extra enjoyment from recognizing these elements.